Hey everyone, in this video we're going to be changing the complete set of belts on a Volvo Penta KAD 42, 43, 44 or 300. Same process, same belts for all three of these engines. Four of these engines may be similar for KAD 32s as well. There's one emission. I'm going to take you through it from start to finish and show you how we did it. So let's get into the video. Hey everyone, welcome back to Boating Tube. On this channel we do news, reviews, how-tos and all kinds of videos to do with boating. It's been a while, but we're back down on the boat after lockdown, getting ready for the season, getting ready to get the boat ready to go out. And there was one service item that I really wanted to do. It's something that's not a regular service item like changing the oil and filters that we've already covered before, but it's something that are maintenance items that needs to be done once every 3 or 4 years maybe, or something that that you want to do. Now we're going to change all the belts on both of our KAD 44 engines aboard the boat. We've had the boat for just over 3 years now. I don't know when they were last changed. Certainly I haven't changed them, so they're certainly at least 3 or 4 years old. And it's just one of those things that I'd rather invest the money and do it now rather than have them break when we're actually underway out at sea and have to fix it then. So it's just a sort of maintenance task I want to get done and out of the way, just for peace of mind, for reliability. As I say, there's nothing potentially wrong with the old ones. I just, as I say, want to get them done. Let me take you down into the engine bay and show you the old belts and the state that they're in, and then I can show you the new belts and then how we're going to go about changing them. So let's go down to that now. So as you look at the engines here, you may think, well, this looks a bit different to my KAD 44 or KAD 42 or KAD 43. I've taken off and removed the covers. I don't actually leave these on. I prefer to have them off so I can kind of keep an eye on the belts and keep an eye on stuff. These are just kind of cosmetic panels for what I can see in sort of a belt cover. So I tend to keep those off, so they're sort of just down the back of the engine. And again, that just lets me have a visual inspection whenever I open the hatch of the belts and what's going on. Again, you may have them off. They sit on little rubbers. There's one on here. There's then another one that sits on there, and there's another one, someone else there. And you can see that they're on these little rubbers. So you just sort of squeeze them and wiggle them off, and you can then take that cover off, and then you can see the belts in all their glory. Right, so here you can see us looking down on the engines. While I've got the belts off, I want to have a bit of a clean around as well, so you can see there's a lot of belt dust around. As I say, I'm sure they probably haven't been done in a good while. So while they're off, I'll give them a good change. Now, I'm no expert, so I don't know, obviously, what condition these are in or aren't in, but so they're at least 3 or 4 years old, so I want to change them off. You can see the individual strands here in the compressor or supercharger belt here, and certainly as we look down to, you can't really see, but down there's a little bit of sort of, around the water pump belt. You can see it's sort of starting to kind of disintegrate around the edges. And again, can't really see it down there. Let's see if we can get down there. The alternator belt, which again you can't really see, is as they starting to look a little bit ropey. And again, after at least 3 or 4 years, I thought it would be a good idea to change it. And again, I'd like to have a bit of a clean up down here. It's a bit grotty in the bilges, and so it would be nice to make it look a little bit cleaner while we got them off. So first things first, there are 2 tensioner pulleys that we need to undo, I believe. There's this one here on the supercharger belt, and then there's one slightly lower down here on the water pump belt, the water circulation pump, that we need to loosen off. We then need to take this top, we can take the supercharger belt then off. We then need to take this top pulley off. There are 4 12mm bolts in this pulley. This pulley will then come off, and then we can get the circulation pump belt and the alternator belt off of the back of this and change those over. So from what I can see, that is the steps that we need to take. So let's get these tensioners loosened off. So you will need a spanner for this. Now, the inner nut is a 15mm, the outer nut is a 14mm. Pretty straightforward. We'll just undo the inner nut. There we go, slacken that off. There. There you can see the belt is now lovely and slack on there, and we can then remove that belt and take that off. There we go, pretty straightforward. That is the old belt, the old compressor belt. Right, so now that's off, we need to slacken off the alternator, to put some slack in the alternator belt, so then we can take this front pulley off, so we can then get access to the circulation pump belt behind it. So we can't really take this front pulley off whilst the alternator belt is under tension, so we need to loosen that off first, and then we can then pull out the 4 bolts in that front pulley and take that all off. Right, so to take off your alternator belt, it's really hard to film, there is a bolt here at the bottom. You want to loosen that one off there, and that's on the tensioner. So this then, once you've loosened that off, you can then adjust this rod here, which pushes the alternator in. You might want to just slacken off this top one here, which is a bolt that goes all the way through to the bottom, and also this clamp, just to loosen it off so it moves freely. And then, as I say, once you've loosened this one off at the bottom, you can then slide it, or you can turn this one. As you look at it, you turn it, so I think anti-clockwise. There you go, to anti-clockwise, lefty loosey, righty tighty, and that will then move the alternator in, and then this belt then becomes lovely and slack, and you can pull it off. But we're going to, let's say, pull that off at the top. Now, before I set the last shot, I need to remember to loosen off or slacken off the bottom tensioner. So we need our 15mm spanner again. I'm going to go over this bottom tensioner. Again, you want to get it all the way on to the nut at the back, and then undo the tension on there. That tension's off there. This belt is now nice and slack on there. So we can take out those 2 remaining nuts on this top pulley to take this off. Obviously, don't lose the washers in your bilge, because you will have a bad day trying to fish those out of your bilge if you drop them, or the bolts for that matter. Right, that's done. So we can just pop that pulley off the front there, and there you can see is the pulley covered in lovely belt dust there. So we're going to get that a nice clean up, get rid of all that horrible bits of rubber gunk off of there and off the front, make it look a little bit cleaner. So there's that bit. We can now pull off the alternator belt, pass that through. There's our old alternator belt, was a genuine Volvo one before, so there we go, replacing like for like. And now we can pull off this circulation pump belt as well, hopefully. This is, I need to slacken that off a bit more, and then we should be able to feed that off right away. Come on. There we go, and there's the old circulation pump belt. Now this one, you can see there's a lot of sort of fraying and bits coming off of it. That was the one that was, I think this was a bit loose for a while, I hadn't noticed, and as I say, probably not in bad condition. I don't know if there's a date stamp on these that you can tell. And now I guess they could have been lying around for ages, but again, it's just peace of mind to do it. They're not cheap, but again, it's not the sort of thing you want failing when you're in the middle of the sea or the middle of the river. And again, you can see that's old belt there. So let's get all this cleaned up nicely, and we can get the new belts back on, and hopefully get this bilge area a little bit cleaned up as well around here as well. Right, so it may not look like it, but I've given everything a good clean. I've got a lot of water down the bilges, need to get the wet and dry vac to get that out. But everything is a lot cleaner down here. You can see everything's now Volvo green again, which is good. I probably could have done a much better job, a longer job, but it's an engine at the end of the day, an engine bay. It's clear, a lot cleaner than it is, and it was. I don't want to go too crazy. I don't want to get too much water on the alternator or the wiring or the sensors or anything. So I've just given it a sort of spray off, clean off, and rubbed off all the belt dust. So at least I can see in the future if there are any problems, if there are any belt dust flying around. So now we need to get everything reassembled with the new belts. It's kind of a reverse order. So we're going to put the circulation pump back on, belt back on first, then the alternator belt, and do up the tensioner, and then we're going to put the top pulley back on, and then we can get the compressor belt back on and tighten up the tensioners, and then run the engine up, and fingers crossed everything should be all good. The other thing just to note while you've got the belts off, it's a good idea, if I let go of the phone here, just to spin these, make sure they're running smoothly, the two tensioner, make sure the sort of bearings feel good on those, aren't sort of rattly. That's what will give you the squeaks and the rattles as the engine's running, if you've got any problems with those. So while you've got them off, just check those and make sure everything's happy with those. So let's get everything reassembled. So now we've got all the belts off, we're going to put the new belts on, and I'm just going to go through the new belts. Now, there's a lot of snobbery, there's a lot of discussion, there's a lot of chatter around which belts you should buy, whether you should buy the genuine Volvo ones, whether the genuine Volvo ones are not that good, whether cheaper ones are better. I don't want to get into that whole argument. I've chosen to go with Volvo Penta. They're obviously a lot more expensive than the aftermarket ones. It's up to you, it's your engine, it's your boat, you choose what to do. But I think from a resale point of view, and again from peace of mind point of view, using original spares is a good thing. So if you have a KAD 42, 43, 44, 300s, the compressor belt is an 860388. The water pump belt is an 861564. The alternator belt is a 977542. And the power steering belt, which you will have on one of your engines, if you have twins, or if you have singles, you'll just have this on the main engine. It's a 973487. Again, you can buy aftermarket ones of all different types and shapes and sizes. That is up to you. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but those are the 4 belts on this engine, and there's going to be 3 belts on the other engine because it doesn't have the power steering pump on the other engine. Right, so here goes the 861564 water circulation belt. Now, it depends how OCD you are, whether you want the Volvo at the front or Volvo facing towards the back. I'm going to have the Volvo facing that way so it looks right when you look down on the engine. Up to you, depends how OCD you are, I guess. Right, so I've cleaned up this pulley. I'll have to do a before and after of this, for how it looked before and now how it looks after. Just cleaned it up and got rid of all that horrible belt dust on there, and it looks quite nice now. So there we go, let's get that back on. Now we need to check the torque that we're going to tighten these up to, so I'm just going to literally, as I say, do opposites in a star pattern. So they tell you in engineering school, probably. I'm sure I've heard that before. Right, so we need to check the manual for the torque settings of these bolts. Right, so 25 Newton meters for an M8 with a 12mm socket on here. 1, 2. And so we go in a star pattern. Apparently they teach you. I almost sound professional, like I know what I'm talking about. Right, that's those 4 done. So I'll leave the alternator belt till last and we'll tighten that up. So next off, let's get the compressor belt on and make sure we get the Volvos all going the same way, because it will all look a bit weird if they're not going the same way, won't it? A bit old. Alright, get that out of the way. This is going to go around here. Around that tensioner. Around that thing there. And then just that off a bit more. Yeah. And around there. Is that all working? Okay. That doesn't work then. Let's try put it around there first. See if that helps us. Feed it round there. That's better. There you go. There's the trick. Put it on the supercharger first, and then feed it round. Make sure it's fully seated, and then we'll do up that tensioner. Volvo is going the same way. Good, excellent. Make it look pretty. Right, let's get that tensioner tightened up. So again, we need our 15mm for the lock, and then we need our torque wrench, our bigger torque wrench, because this is more torque. So my head's going to get in the way again, sorry. I'll put that one on there, that one on there. And then wait for the click. Oh, where are we? Cool. There it is. And then I'm going to lock that on there. Cool. I undid that. Right. Just all the glue coming off my sound insulation. Put that around there. Give that another go. Make sure that's fully seated. There's the click, and then just nip that up. Don't give you a torque for the other one, obviously. So anyway, that's pretty tight. Sitting nicely on there. Yep. Water pump belts nicely as well. Gosh, that's beautiful. Right, so now we need to go and tighten up the alternator belt. Now, according to the manual and the forums, there should be about 1 centimetre of up and down travel when you push the belt up and down in the middle. Now, you're not going to be able to see this, so I'm just going to go and do this, because I can't really take you down there because it's too... not much room here, as you can see. All you guys that have got massive engine bays and loads of room to work, you can see the pleasure that I have when I have to do anything. There's literally like a small space to stand in between these engines. Anyway, let's go and do that now. Right, so tighten up the alternator belt, torqued all those up. Make sure you remember to tighten up all the bolts that you undid to loosen that off. So torque up the 2 tensioners, torque up the 4 bolts on the front pulley there for the compressor. You know, we turned off the engine, or turned off the power, because we touched the we went near the alternator with a metal device. So we need to turn our power on now. If all things have gone well and everything has worked, we can now start the engines up and everything should work. We should get charge on our alternator, compressor should run. Certainly on the KAD 44, because they run at startup to prevent smoking, and we can check everything is nice and tight and doesn't squeal. So let's do that now. So that is it. Reasonably straightforward, I would say. There's nothing massively complicated there. As long as you've got the right tools, you need a torque wrench, some spanners, 12mm, 13mm, 19mm, I think for the alternator for the big bolt, if you want to loosen that off. And then just take your time, look at where everything comes off, take pictures. Obviously you can follow along the video if you do, but you do so at your own risk. I'm not Volvo Penta trained. I am just trying to have a go and to understand how to maintain and look after my engines myself in case I am out at sea or I am out on the river and one of the belts did snap. I'd like to know how to be able to change them. So that is it. Thank you very much for watching. Please stay tuned, subscribe, like, ring the bell and all that good stuff. Tell all your friends about Boating Tube for more great videos coming very, very soon. Catch you on the next one.